Let's talk about that one device that's basically become an extension of ourselves, our smartphone. It's probably the most powerful tool we've ever carried around in our pockets. But, and this is the fascinating part, it's also a huge paradox.
So, here's a question you hear all the time, right? Especially in boardrooms. Do we really need a mobile app? You know, with budgets being what they are and all the old clunky tech that's a nightmare to update, is it actually worth the investment? Well, the answer is a big, flashing, neon yes. Honestly, the debate is over. What used to be a cool, innovative feature is now just a basic expectation. It's not a nice-to-have anymore, it's a must-have.
So let's start right there with this idea of the non-negotiable device. Because that's what it is now. It's so much more than just a phone. For millions of people, it's become essential infrastructure.
And the scale of this is it's staggering. I mean, look at this. In the UK, over 80% of adults are checking their banking app every single week. That's as normal as checking the weather. It's the same story down in Australia, where 3 out of 4 customers are using a mobile banking app. This isn't some niche thing. This is just how it's done now.
So, why? What's the big pull? And yeah, convenience is a big part of it, for sure, but the real deep-down reason we're all so hooked? It's one word: control.
And this slide just nails what that feeling of control really looks like. It's being able to check your balance at 2 in the morning if you want. It's paying a bill while you're standing in line for coffee. It's that power to run your entire financial life from the palm of your hand, on your own time. No branches, no waiting on hold.
And you know, this isn't just a story about developed countries. The impact is actually way, way bigger on a global scale. Just look at this number. By 2030, smartphone use in sub-Saharan Africa is expected to hit 87%. For them, mobile tech isn't just about convenience. It's allowing whole economies to just leapfrog over old ways of doing things, giving millions of people access to things like banking, healthcare, and education for the very first time.
But okay, here's the flip side. Here's the first part of that paradox I mentioned. When you become so dependent on something, you create a massive vulnerability. Every one of these essential tools we carry around has this invisible threat just lurking inside.
Okay, check out these 2 charts. They tell a really interesting story. On the left, you can see that financial apps are, by a long shot, the most studied when it comes to security flaws. Like 64% of the focus is on them. Now look to the right. What are the biggest issues? Things like insecure data storage and apps asking for permissions they shouldn't have. So the takeaway is pretty clear. The apps with our most sensitive data are the exact same ones getting poked and prodded from major security holes.
And this isn't just a what-if scenario. This stuff is real and it's happening all over the place. In developing countries, where a phone is often the only link to the digital world, more than 1 in 10 devices is affected by mobile malware.
And the risk there is just amplified by a bunch of unique challenges. If you have spotty internet, it's really hard to get those crucial security updates. The market is also full of these super cheap, insecure phones. And on top of that, if digital literacy is low, people are just way more likely to fall for scams or download something they shouldn't.
All right, so we've talked about the invisible software threats, but what about the very visible, very physical problem? What happens when the device itself, the hardware you're holding, just breaks?
You know, the phones most of us buy are actually pretty fragile, especially if you're trying to use them for work. It turns out a regular consumer phone is 3 times more likely to fail than a device that's been specifically built to be rugged and tough. And that fragility isn't just annoying, it's a huge cost to businesses.
And the scale of that cost is, well, it's kind of mind-blowing. For businesses that rely on mobile devices, failures can add up to an annual downtime cost of at least $46 million.
Let's break that down. It gets even crazier. For every single hour the IT systems are down because of a broken device, it can cost the business a minimum of $84,000 every hour.
And beyond all the money, there's a human cost. When your device fails, it's not just about the time it takes to fix it. It's about getting completely knocked out of your workflow. On average, it takes about 23 minutes for someone to get their focus back after that kind of interruption. Think about how much productivity that just drains away.
So we have insecure software and fragile hardware. But there's a third piece to this paradox, and it's a lot more personal. It's the human reaction to it all. More and more people are starting to push back against the smartness of their phones, trying to escape this feeling of digital overload.
This quote from music producer Rana Ali just captures that feeling perfectly. It's that pressure, right? The pressure to be available 24/7, to respond instantly. That feeling of always being on is making people want to just disconnect.
And this isn't just a few people feeling this way.
The data shows a really clear trend, especially with younger people. 3 out of 5 Gen Zers, that's 60%, say they want to be less connected. The generation that grew up with this tech is now the one leading the charge to step away from it. So what you're seeing is this split into two different ways of living. On one side, you've got the typical smartphone life, the constant buzz of notifications, the endless scrolling. And on the other, you have the rise of what people are calling the boring phone, a device that just does the basics, which makes room for things like, reading a book or just having clear thoughts.
And the benefit of this digital detox is pretty amazing. As one person who made the switch said, the result was simple but powerful. Just so much more clarity in my mind.
So, this brings us to what's next. We've seen two very different problems crop up from our reliance on this little device. Its physical and digital weaknesses on one side, and the mental burden it creates on the other. And now we're seeing two very different solutions emerge to try and fix them.
It really comes down to two paths to a better phone. On one path, you have the rugged phone. It's the answer to all that physical failure. It's about making the device tougher, more reliable, something that can survive in the real world. Then, on the other path, you have the boring phone. That's the answer to digital overload. It's about making the device simpler, quieter, and built to help you focus.
Which really leaves us with one final question to think about. Is the problem the actual device we're holding, or is it more about how we're holding it, our relationship with it? The answer is probably somewhere in the middle, but asking that question really gets to the heart of this whole paradox in your pocket.